Okay, so how long you've lived here in Montenegro?
No, actually I live in Serbia, but I'm here on vacation for the last, let's say, 24 years, with a small example of COVID year, but basically everything else was, every summer we were here.
Cool. And you were telling me before about how the fishing conditions have changed?
Yeah, definitely, because I will try to avoid to sound like Uncle Albert from Only Fools and the Horses and during the war and like retirement people, to say that everything was rapidly better in their time. But honestly, let's say that in period 10-15 years ago, it was completely different story than now.
Cool. And
which means that in the past, of course, from the coast you cannot catch really the big fish. It is dedicated for some big games, etc. But it was really interesting because if you spend, for example, 2-3 hours here on the mall, basically all the time something was happened. You know, a lot of small fishes for catch and release, etc. Maybe one or two, the bigger or something like that. But today it is completely different. This is, I think, 8 or 9 days that we are here, and every night we were here for, let's say, 3 or 4 hours, and up to now for 9 days we had 2 fish, small one. So it is not really the perfect score.
okay, perfect. Have you just a bait? Have you tried different baits or anything?
Absolutely. This is the part of the sport, but you know, definitely during the years, especially in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years, situation has changed rapidly, and it is not so good like in the past, definitely. But what to do? This is the sport, and we should believe that something will happen. But the fact is actually that complete the sea and the bottom has changed, because we also spend a lot of time in the water, snorkeling, collecting the baits, etc. And in the past it was much more interesting, because you could see a lot of species, a lot of living sea world, different kind of fishes, octopuses, different kind of the shells, etc. Today it looks a little bit empty. It is not the same picture.
You say that's the main reason why there's less fish?
There are a lot of the theories, and I want to avoid any kind of conspiracy theories, but basically one of the main reasons from my standing point is because the coast became really urban, and during the time, let's say, that tourists and the guests, they became much more and more, how to say, proficient in their requirements, and they do not want to walk in the water, you know, on the natural field, maybe to have a situation to put leg on the hedge or something like that. And this is the reason why the people who rent the beaches prefer to put some additional stone, additional covering for the beaches, and when you see the bottom covered with stone from other location, definitely there is nothing on that kind of the bottom. There is no fish, there is no shells, nothing. And especially during the spring, you know, the fish go in the shallow water for breeding and everything, and if they do not have the natural habitat for that, they simply remove location. So it doesn't mean necessarily that this is a situation in the whole bay because we are connected to this location, but let's say on area maybe 2 kilometers long, 1 kilometer on another, and on opposite side, everywhere is the same. A lot of concrete on the beaches, and a lot of covering on the bottom, and lack of the living world. in terms of pollution, I don't think that is crucial. The fact is that here the problem of sewage is not fully solved. It is not in many of countries. There is no some kind of purification of sewage water. But again, the season lasts something like 3.5, 4 months, and the sea has, let's say, something like 8 months to regenerate, and the quality of the water is still quite good here, which means that this is not the main reason. But from my standing point, probably the urbanization is main enemies of fishermen here.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And what's
Thank you.
your name?
Davog.
Davog, nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, it was my pleasure also. It's just a graveyard. There is no living shell of this type. You can find just the empty shells, a lot of them. They're in the shallow water, maybe
I saw that today a lot. We have one of them in our house from a long time ago.
He's talking about, if you didn't know, the noble pen shells, which are a very endangered species in their endemic habitat of the Mediterranean and the Adriatic. In 2016, an outbreak of Hapsalorhipidin pianae killed off 99% of all of them. And most of the deaths were from this disease and from incidental trawling and accidental anchoring. They're trying to breed them with their sister giant clam, the Atrina pectinia, try to save them. And there's a lot of laws trying to save these. Extraction in Croatia has been legal since 1977. And I did say that we do have one of the emptied out shells in our house, which we got around the 1960s, and they're probably being sold. We don't actually know quite where it came from. We just know we've had it for a long time. Anyway, really cool and really endangered shell.
Yeah, and unfortunately today it is impossible in this part, or actually there is a problem also in Croatia, in Adriatic Sea, everywhere, because from the moment that kind of parasite appear in the Adriatic Sea, this kind of shell is basically
the death rate was
disappeared.
99%.
Yeah,
and
really?
the 1% was weak and then killed then by something else.
Huh. And it's endemic to Montenegro.
Yeah. Well, today I don't know. Do they have anywhere some of living Pinna nobilis? Because in the past, this location, especially Baušić in this part of the coast, was endemic location for this kind of the shell. And of course,
It's endemic to the Mediterranean Sea.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Here, let's say, even in the period when they were alive, let's say the protection measures were not at so high level, which means that a lot of people, because they look nice, they're big shells, and they remove them from the bottom and bring it home or something like that.
Especially the smaller ones, since the big ones are hard to remove.
Yeah, they're really hard connected in the sand. And a lot of people simply collect them as souvenirs. For example, in Croatia, for a quite long period of time, if you remove the living live Pinna nobilis from the bottom, the fine is something like 10,000 euros for one piece. So maybe that in the past was something like let's say different situation here in Montenegro, and it take a little bit more care, maybe it would be different. But of course, what happened a few years ago with that kind of parasite, it was something which is not, how to say, directly human related. Maybe it is connected with global warming, because the temperature of the water became higher and higher every year. A lot of the cruisers, because they bring species and the parasites from tropical seas and from location. They are not typical for this, and when they appear, they could destroy the local species.
Yeah, when I was here in 2018, I was recording all those shells with my camera, and they were all alive and well. And then in 2019, I just noticed that whenever I saw one, it was dead. You can just see it on the outer shell, and
Okay, tell us.
it's really noticeable even if you don't get too close to them, because they lose their texture and their color, and they become more green and lose the texture. And all these shells that are left, basically the shell graveyard, is just those shells that have been decaying from 2019 or a bit earlier.
Basically, something like 5 years they are already dead, and today they are empty, but they're not even good for the souvenir because
They immediately break.
They immediately break, and they look completely
So
different.
they're extinct, or
Absolutely.
Here at least.
Here, and I'm not sure for the whole Adriatic Sea, but I read an article about Croatia that they have some location when they found something like 10 or 15 pieces, really 15 pieces, and this is now on preserve area, and they hoping that they're hoping that from this location they could spread again, and basically they have more or less it is not just an empty story, police guard to preserve that location where they have the last 15 shells of this piece.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, in Montenegro, that will not happen. Even if some of leaf shells are still here because they have a little bit different mental matrix, but it doesn't matter.
Makar Wikipedia kaže critically endangered, sad ne znam koliko su oni up to date sa time.
Gde, u Jadranu?
Uopšte.
Ne, pa možeš da kažeš.
So this video is more supposed to be just about his interview, but if you want to look at the sea ocean bottom and the floor and everything, as a person who's been there quite a few times, it's really lacking from what it used to be. I mean, I used to hurt myself, step on a sea urchin every single day, and now it's really just a few small plants on a gray bottom. So, you know, the fishing hasn't been too good, and now y'all know why.